couple of weeks ago, I'm in Las Vegas speaking with Robert Kiyosaki at an event. And as I connect with him, he starts sharing some Thanos level predictions, as in 50% of the US population is about to be wiped out because of inflation. And then this article just comes out. So today we're gonna explore and find out, is he right or is he wrong?
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
It's Friday and the numbers are in. Inflation just hit 8.6%. It's higher than it's been in 40 years, and it's only going up. And there are some real estate professionals out there, business professionals like Robert Kiyosaki. He wrote this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so a lot of people admire him for his financial advice. And now all of a sudden he's coming out with all of these ideas, basically saying it's the end of the world, it's the end of the times, it's doom and gloom. We got Thanos type problems going on right now. And this is what I really want to talk about today. Will rising inflation actually wipe out half of all of the people in the United States? And how does losing value on the dollar actually kill people? It sounds pretty extreme. We're going to do a deep dive. Years ago, before I ever even bought my first piece of property, 6,000 homes ago, I was reading all sorts of financial books and they were tinkering up here. And one of them was Robert Kiyosaki's book on Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a fictional story about a son and a father. And basically his son had a poor father who was, I think, an engineer or a teacher, an educator or something like that. And basically made kind of middle class, average American type income. But then he also had a rich dad, a mentor, someone that taught him things like the game of real estate, how you build wealth. The book I still recommend to people today because it's a fantastic piece on financial principles so that you break out of this consumer mindset, this I'm never going to be wealthy mindset, and learn that if you model the wealthy, you can have what the wealthy have. So Robert Kiyosaki's been a guy for the last 2 decades that at times has been a great source of inspiration for me. When I had a chance to meet him, he was definitely sharing some end of the world doom and gloom kind of stuff. And check this out. This comes from Thin Bold. He's talking about savings. And this is right out of April when Robert Kiyosaki warned 40% of Americans don't have $1,000 in their savings. So when inflation goes up, we're going to wipe out 50% of the US population. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, we had really bad inflation in the 70s. Did that actually wipe out people? Did it kill people? I don't really know. That seems to me a little bit like a stretch right here. What I will tell you is that having 40% of the country with only $1,000 to make, that's troublesome because it means for them that when inflation this year is maybe at 10%, it means that that $1,000 is going to feel more like $900 of buying power. And if we have 5 years of 10% inflation, $1,000 in 5 years could actually feel like $500 or less. I haven't done the math on how that's going to kill people. While he's at it, Robert Kiyosaki goes on further in the article to talk about 401ks and basically obliterate them. He says 401ks are toast. Our treasury is out of control and our retirement is out of control. When the stock market crashes, the 401ks of the old guys are toast. Now, I am going to tell you right now that the average 401k balance with IRAs, any qualified money set aside for retirement for the average person in their 60s at retirement is about $200,000. That is a dismal amount of money, and inflation could knock that in half to maybe $100,000. Again, I don't know how that does any level of population control or necessarily killing people, because when people really retire poor, what they do is they rely on charity, they rely on the government, and people find a way. And then, there's always Walmart offering jobs.
Welcome to Walmart. Get your shit and get out.
Now, where I agree with Kiyosaki is that 401ks, our approach to retirement, massively problematic. And I think there's just a lot of people that are like, hey, listen, I only have enough bandwidth to focus on getting a job. My company has a 401k match. I'm going to put some money into that. And then hopefully I'm going to kind of close my eyes, cross my fingers. And when I get to retirement, I'm going to wake up and hope, there's enough money there. The truth is there's not, and that's the problem. But in this article, Kiyosaki goes nuclear. He's like, we're experiencing the death of America. We are literally going socialistic, then communistic. And I'm not going to lie, I'm seeing definitely some of those tendencies, but I think in his mind, ultimately, this is following the path of Russia. This leads to revolution. This leads to blood in the streets. This leads to people not having the means, fighting. And you know what? That is a terrifying future to contemplate. And I'm just going to be hopeful that we can find our way through that. Let's get maybe some outsider perspective on what's really happening here. We're going to turn to a billionaire, Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO and chairman of JP Morgan Chase. This guy knows a thing or two about money, the economy, and he basically says that there are three forces that are shaping the world economy today. Number one, the dramatic stimulus-fueled recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, right? Like supply chains stopped, everything is halted, and now things are aggressively moving forward, and we're trying to find our way to some level of normalcy where we can access the tools and supplies that we need. But then we've got that disruption happening in other parts of the world. Number two, the likely need for rapidly raising rates and the quantitative tightening. Basically means as rates go up, this starts shifting buyers in a very different direction. When rates increased, a whole lot of people that wanted to get into real estate no longer wanted to buy homes. So the demand went down dramatically. We're still missing over 5 million homes, but now there's a lot of people saying, yeah, but since real estate has gone up and at those rates, like that mortgage payment would be several $100s higher a month. I can't afford that. And on top of that, we've got the quantitative tightening, as in Joe Biden here, specifically in America, starting to get a lot of pressure based on the inflation and everything else happening that, wait a second, maybe we have been printing money a little too wildly and we need to pull that back a little bit. So raising the rates, pulling that back, that's definitely going to help shape the economy, tighten things up, make things worse. And then finally, number three, the war in Ukraine and the sanctions on Russia. What an unknown. A couple days ago, I just got back from Ukraine. I was off doing a humanitarian mission. We brought $1 million worth of medical supplies into that country to resupply hospitals, take care of some of the refugee camps, the women and children that don't have spouses and people to bring them food and take care of them. So we addressed a lot of that. And I have to tell you that when I was there in Kiev, we had 5 missile strikes come down within 2 miles away. It was terrifying. And in that war-torn country, right now, everyone is on pause. The Ukrainians are fighting for their life. They're fighting for their freedom. No one really wants to mess with Russia, however, beyond these sanctions. Listen, they're in a horrible stalemate right now, and it is undoubtedly affecting all of us all around the world because their level of exportation in wood and petroleum, oil, gas, wheat, it's affecting everything. So yeah, it is true, Robert Kiyosaki, that we live in this really insane, crazy world today. Hopefully it doesn't come to brawls and revolutions and half of everyone dying. So Kiyosaki is backing up his claims with this argument saying, what does America really make these days anymore? All we do is really produce bubbles, right? Like, what do we make and what are we really exporting? Right now, everything is outsourced overseas. America has stopped producing products and all we really produce are bubbles, adding that we now have bubbles in the real estate market, the stock market, the bond market, and what comes up must come down. And that's what Kiyosaki is really worried about is if we have multiple bubbles building, what happens if they all rupture all at the exact same time? Now, while it sounds a lot like the end of the world, I think that there's some silver lining here, some good news, right? The good thing about a bubble is that when it does burst, everything goes on sale. There are a few hedges against inflation that you can invest in now in order to be ready to buy when the bubble pops. In other words, really smart, intelligent investors, they know how to be in the market when bubbles are forming. They also know what to do in the market when those bubbles burst. This reminds me of 2008, right? When the real estate market burst wide open. I remember exactly where I was sitting. I was closing on a house and the bank came in and said, hey, we've just changed your 6% interest rate you were about to sign on to 16%. And I'm like, I'm not signing on that. A couple days later, that bank was out of business. So when that bubble burst, banks literally got obliterated. And a lot of people whose real estate had really gone up in value, it dropped overnight. And what that did is that meant that people were giving all their real estate back to the banks because they couldn't afford the mortgages on them. Well, for me, this was a good thing, meaning there's a mess, someone's got to clean it up. And you need to understand that every time a bubble pops, it produces an opportunity. In real estate, what I did in 2008 is I bought thousands of homes in Vegas, Phoenix, in the Orlando market where they had overbuilt. I bought them 5 years later when they needed those homes again. We sold them. There was over $100 million of profits. What about the stock market? Well, the stock market can also burst as well. But remember, within 36 months, it always comes back. So if we have a bursting of that bubble and we drop 30% in the market, within 36 months, historically and statistically speaking, it's going to come back. So someone could literally buy on value. They could buy at a huge discount. Here's some of the other things, right? If you want to hedge against inflation, here's what Kiyosaki says. He says you should buy gold and silver. You should buy tips. You should buy great stocks. You should buy crypto, life insurance, and real estate. And let's talk about some of these. Like, are these actually smart things to invest in? Well, first of all, if you were to invest in tips or even something like gold and silver, sure, in an inflationary economy, these things can go up and do well, but on average, these are single-digit ROIs. So for someone that has a lot of money that doesn't want to lose money or maybe make a little, something like this could actually make a little bit of sense, but it's a little bit more of a hedge your bet doomsday model. Crypto surprised me that Kiyosaki was really behind that, because when that market gets obliterated, it's nasty, but you can buy on extreme value, and then over time, you get to watch it go up. Real estate did not surprise me, right? Real estate is like the ultimate hedge against inflation. And remember, 8.6%, that's not something to mess around. I think that in the next 5 years, we're not gonna maybe lose 50% of the population, but I do think that you can lose 50% of your wealth. Whether you spent years or decades building it, half of it could literally evaporate like Thanos snapping the finger. So putting your money out of those places and into these places is something that is actually really intelligent. On this entire list though, there's only a couple of things that I see here that get me really excited. And the most important one, real estate. Kiyosaki is a little extreme for me, but some of his financial philosophy absolutely rocks. His books have been game-changing for me in really the cash flow quadrant, right? Like, how do you go from being one of these people that's trapped forever to one of these people that can actually go somewhere with their life? Books are fantastic. His take on the world today, I hope he's wrong. I got a gift for you, and it's this book. It's called Have It All. It's all based on the idea of placing your money based on ROI. Where can you get a double-digit ROI, a triple-digit ROI, a quadruple digit? Those things sound honestly like get rich quick. Like, Kris, are you telling me that you can make 25% on your money when the bank won't give me even a percent? Or you're telling me that I can make 100% or 500% or 1,000% of my money? I've been doing it for years, and there are 5 different ways of doing it. And in this book, I show you what you should do in an inflationary time to actually leverage it for your gain and for your good. Now, this book today for you, my friend, it's free. All I'm gonna have you do is click the link below, select that you want a copy of it, cover the basic shipping and handling. And when I send this to you, you're gonna receive a full color version of this book. And I'm gonna share with you my magnum opus on a piece of work financially that doesn't exist in the world today. It is literally how some of the most successful people become wealthy, whether the economy is doing well or horrible. And I'm telling you right now that whichever it is, this book will help you navigate it ultra successfully. Are you a subscriber on my channel? You better be, because I'm inevitable. In all seriousness though, over the last couple of years, I've been making my own predictions about what's gonna happen in the economy. I've made 5 videos on 5 specific predictions. And you know what? I got a lot of flack because a lot of people called me crazy. But if you wanna know how those predictions turned out, what actually happened, and what my next prediction is, check out this video right here. I think it's gonna be fantastic. So inflation numbers just came out today. Sorry, my English accent crept in. Try one more time.
Or does it come in often?
My Cockney. Today, governor. Ready?